if you do just want something more casual, or you see that someone's not really a great fit for you, or you're not in that place, then be really upfront and be really honest. Women love that. Women love that. It's so refreshing. Hey, I'm really not interested in anything serious, but I think you're beautiful and I would love to go on a date with you. Great. It is really beneficial in general to be really clear on what you're looking for, right? Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ancient Intelligence. You've got your host Anya Shack, and today is a Q&A episode. I've collected some questions that have come in from YouTube, from Instagram, also from email from my newsletter. So let's get into it. I want to keep this one as short as possible, maybe like 20-ish minutes. So let's do it. All right. So question number one. I loved your video on male initiation, stage one, boys and their moms. What about female initiation, asking for the girl dads? Love that. Beautiful question. So I don't know, like in depth across multiple different cultures, what specifically goes on within girl initiation, but I do have a couple of thoughts that I will share. And the first thing is that the difference between boys and girls in general, right? One of the big differences is that female initiation happens biologically, it happens naturally, in that womanhood is actualized, right, with the start of the menstrual cycle, and there's just a very clear physical feeling there. And then the continued initiation obviously happens when a woman becomes pregnant. So they all say, like, pregnancy doesn't just make a baby, it also makes a mother. And so there's something really meaningful about that. And I just love that. When I heard it, and yeah, it's definitely something that I feel deeply and I'm looking forward to experiencing one day. And so with that, I was actually in Denver for a how to work with men workshop. I think I've talked about it with Dewey Freeman, and it was led by Traver Boehm of Uncivilized Man. And I got to spend some time there with a friend and his wife, and her and I got to talking. And she's actually joined this women's circle where they are all about talking about female initiation. And so one of the things we were talking about is, wouldn't it be amazing if when a girl starts her period, instead of it being shamed and don't tell anyone, gross, and then it just being this thing that actually keeps her really small and really self-conscious, which is what happened with me, which is what happened with most other girls in the West. If her mother's not around, then really finding a female woman, a mentor, someone that can be kind of like her guide, and really creating a kind of like an initiation, rite of passage experience weekend, right? Maybe going into the woods, into the wilderness, speaking around the campfire, kind of talking about womanhood. And I really believe these kinds of things should be sex segregated. And so there's really an opportunity to create a meaningful, beautiful kind of coming of age experience for a young girl that we don't do here in the West. We don't do coming of age experiences for boys either, but there's more of a culture around it, because it's really needed. We know that young boys are kind of flailing and need support. And so there's a lot of organizations that are helping. And I know, like, Order of Man does stuff with dads and their boys, but when it comes to girls, yeah, it's really about how can we take something that has been for some reason shamed and hidden, and actually have this be something meaningful and beautiful. And I think getting your daughter a female mentor type person, like an auntie, someone that you really trust, someone that is wise and rooted and grounded and loving, getting her around someone like that. And then, yeah, I would just, yeah, inquire about that. Like, have you heard of any other mom daughter groups that are doing things like this? Maybe there's some exist on Facebook. I know that's a really good place that a lot of my mom friends go to figure stuff out. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Number two, what advice do you have for men who get very nervous when they see a woman they want to ask out and they end up just not asking her out, even for a smoothie, to get to know each other as friends, not as a date? So that right therein is the nice guy trap, right? So you want to ask a woman out as a date, it's clear, but then you're nervous or scared to do that, so you don't, and you create this like friend dynamic so that it's easier for you to not get rejected. That's effectively like a covert contract. So in your mind, you've already decided that you like her and you're attracted to her as more than just a friend, right? But you're not saying that, you're not being precise about that, you're not being clear about that. And so what happens is there's an energy of mistrust and confusion, and she already can tell that what you're saying is different from what you're thinking, right? So I'd say that, it is really beneficial in general to be, first of all, really clear on what you're looking for, right? I think if in our minds and our hearts, like we really want a long-term relationship and that is the top priority for us, right? Even if we see someone that's really beautiful, that maybe isn't a good match for us, but like we want to flirt and hang out. I get that. That makes sense. Of course, we want to do that. But I think if you want to be with integrity and kind of come at your life with integrity, I think there's an opportunity for that. I think having that like higher order desire in your mind and then acting based on that, right? So if you ultimately want to kind of like marry someone that you know really well and that you get along with and that you've built a friendship, then you really have to get that like attraction piece out of your mind and really say, hey, I would love to get to know this person as a friend. And then at that point, you really have to let go of any sort of jealousy that exists when they're dating other people or whatever, right? You can't be having those internal feelings while you're just trying to be someone's friend. But if you really want to ask them out, then yeah, I think it's important to just like learn how to get the no's and just learn how to just be rejected and just like learn that it's okay. It's not really about you, it's about the misalignment of you and her. And so I think that's super, super important. And finally, if you if you do just want something more casual or you just want something you see that someone's not really a great fit for you, or you're not in that place, then be really upfront and be really honest. Women love that. It's so refreshing. Hey, I'm really not interested in anything serious, but I think you're beautiful and I would love to go on a date with you. Great. So just kind of get really clear on you and your higher order. The way you frame the question is kind of like you're really so focused on validation from her or what she's going to think about you or not getting rejected. So that is the most important thing. Okay. So from a female perspective, is it okay and justifiable for men to prefer women who aren't promiscuous? If so, why? Well, I think there's so many layers to this question. This sounds kind of like a red pill question or someone that's watched some red pill content. Like, are you promiscuous? Right? It's one of those things, right? It's so, so hypocritical to prefer someone who isn't promiscuous or doesn't have a high body count or whatever that is, if you really do. That's the hypocrisy of that narrative, like the extreme like right pill narrative around just like, oh, I really want this like good girl, this like virginal girl, but I'm going to objectify women and do that. It just seems really hypocritical. So absolutely. Is it okay and justifiable to prefer a woman who is not promiscuous? Absolutely. So then you get exactly who you are. You are your mirror, you attract your mirror. So if you're the same and not promiscuous, then absolutely. I think that's great. But like I said, it's quite hypocritical in this day and age. And I mean, we're not like, I guess I always bring this up, like the warrior king like person of the time, right? That could have some sort of idea of like, oh, well, I want to marry like 100 virgins or something, but I'm like the emperor and the king, so I can do whatever I want. I can have all my harems and then I can marry all these virgins. Like that's just such a archaic but also like tiny little niche mindset. And I feel like sometimes that mindset kind of infiltrates the collective because of people like Andrew Tate and because of people, yeah, like that are effectively kind of practicing this kind of polygamous lifestyle. So yeah, hell yeah, it's justifiable to prefer a non-promiscuous woman if you are also not promiscuous. Okay. Um, what qualities do you look for in a man? Okay, great question. So I think, I remember it's been going around that crazy list of like 400 red flags that like women have been sharing. I just think it's so stupid. It's a representation of the entitlement of our modern era with so many people. I think it's ridiculous. And I just have like I asked myself this question. I have like three very clear things that matter to me, right? A man of God, someone that is close to God, someone who goes to God for his guidance. Number two, a man that wants to be a dad, right? Like he has that innate, I really want to be a dad, as opposed to someone who's like, oh, if it happens, great. If not, that's cool. Like, no, I want someone that really wants to be a dad. And then the other thing is strong, just really just strong. Yeah, physically, but mostly it's intellectually, emotionally, mentally. And so those are the three. Those are the three that matter to me. Everything else, I think can be figured out. So let's see. Do you listen to advice from your girlfriends? Why or why not? It's a good question. I remember I watched some sort of content piece about like not to put this person in any sort of like pedestal place. Grant Cardone's wife talking about like don't listen to the chambermaids tell you advice about the king, like you're married to the king. That's interesting. I can accept that when like mindset, values, and priorities and lifestyle are really different. But I've kind of come to the place in my life where I'm not really friends with women whose um, values aren't kind of aligned with mine. Of course, I have acquaintances and I have peers and I have colleagues. Um, I'm also someone that like tries not to use friends lightly. I think people use that word really lightly. I think friendship means a lot. I think there's sacrifice in it. There's really, could you call them and, ask for an airport pickup at midnight? Like if you can't do that, that's probably not your friend, right? If you have not had conversations, hard conversations with them. I would say quick response. I do not listen to their advice, but I absolutely consider their advice. I absolutely listen to what they say always. But I will definitely not just say like, oh, well, she said I should do this, so I'll do this. I don't, that doesn't make sense. And most of my girlfriends, like I said, a lot of us like come from therapeutic backgrounds. A lot of us are coaches. There's a lot of like internal work being done. I'm friends with a lot of women that are God-centered. So there's always an opportunity in our conversations where they kind of lead me back to God, lead me back to myself. And so I'm not in friendships that are like, well, you should do this or you should do that. It's more about, yeah, like coming back to God and coming back to my intuition. And it's really, really meaningful. They just kind of shine a light on that. And so that's something that I think is really beautiful. And I hope for the sake of everyone, they can have friendships like that. So, what's your favorite success story? Let's see, that's a good one. Honestly, I just, again, I can't pretend to know what these people were like in real life. And I cannot pretend to know what their relationship was like and what their family life was like. But I have this just like love of listening to, watching, and reading about Winston Churchill and his wife. Clementine, I think is her name. Clementine. And I adore the story. I think that his like kind of come up story is beautiful. I think the fact that he was so different from his father. I think the fact that he met her when he was 18, 19 and really recognized that she was going to be a really important person in his life. And I know that there have been things that he said before. And people have asked him, like, how does he become so successful? How is he so focused? All of that. And he basically says, I don't chase women. Like, I married the woman I love, and and I get to work. I have the woman I love, and I focus on my business, my purpose, and my work. And so politics and military and all of that. And so I just think it's so fascinating. There's actually this little, is it called a riddle, or I don't know. I think one of my parents said this to me once, that they had heard it. And back in the Soviet Union, there was this like little joke kind of made where Winston Churchill and his wife were walking down the street, and she saw this street cleaner, kind of garbage collector man, and she realized that she had known him back in the day, like he lived in the neighborhood. So she and him kind of dated for a second, right? Like whatever that means in the era of the 1920s, 30s. And they stopped and they talked, and she was like, oh, how are you? And they were sweet and they were kind. And then as they were walking away, Winston Churchill says to her, like, oh, could you believe what your life would have ended up like if you were married to him? And she says to him, if I were married to him, he would be the Prime Minister of England. Right. And so it's just like this lovely little thing about the power of a good woman behind a man, right? Beside a man, the power of a really intelligent, strong, like mentally strong, emotionally strong woman, right? And so I think their story is just, in my opinion, one of my favorite relationship success stories in history. I'm actually currently reading the love story between John and Abigail Adams. So I've been excited to read that. I know that they have a really great love story as well. And so, yeah, that's my favorite success story. So I'm excited to kind of update you guys. Maybe I'll do a whole episode on like what I've learned about love and relationships from John and Abigail Adams' story. Okay. Last one. Do you think public schools or homeschooling is better? Which will you do when the time comes? Well, I don't know. I remember growing up in Dallas, North Dallas area, and I remember we all, like Russian immigrants, like moved specifically to Plano because the public schools were good there back then. This was like, yeah, late 90s, early 2000s. I had a good experience in that. But I know things have changed. I know all the like woke stuff and the critical race stuff and all just like the nonsense, the gender stuff. So I understand all of that. And I know that if the choices were between public schools like that and homeschooling, absolutely homeschooling is better. Perhaps there are private schools that kind of still have the same aligned values and traditional values. I don't know, that are God-centered. I don't know. It's something I honestly haven't thought about that much. I've definitely in my mind considered that homeschooling would be a really, really great option for me, as I kind of, my like dream would be to kind of live a little bit more in like a rural area, like maybe 2 hours away from a major city. So I have like access on the train, but my home is kind of still near nature and forest. And maybe that in that environment, it's like having a smaller circle of neighbors and friends, and then doing homeschooling, maybe in like a pod, maybe with some other kids around the neighborhood or within our community. So gut instinct. All right, I gave you guys a girl answer that was kind of like this, but clear answer, public schools or homeschooling at this current moment in time, culturally, where we're at, homeschooling, definitely, because of just like the chaos that and the unpredictability that you have in schools, in public schools. So, all right, that's it. I hope this has been fun and interesting, and I'm looking forward to doing more and more like this. Until the next one, y'all. Hello, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'm so happy to be here bringing my wisdom, my truths, all the research I do into pop culture and evolutionary psych and beyond, to bring men and women the information that we all need to know to find that ultimate harmony with each other. This is the mission. This is why I'm here. This is what I believe in. So if you found value in what I'm doing here, please help me grow the podcast. And you can do one of two things. Either share the episode with a friend or leave me a review on Spotify or Apple. This will help me so much. Until next time.